welcome all of you here, and we are live streamed tonight, so be on your best behavior if you are on camera. I will, at this point, invite you to stand and join me in a moment of silent prayer. I urge you to pray in any manner that you're comfortable, and we will follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, John, you got everybody. Ms. Carter, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Snuggs, Councilwoman Snuggs is a little under the weather tonight. Called me a little earlier and said that she just could not be here. So we will miss her and naturally we'll keep her in our prayers. I would like to call on our city attorney, Jeff Sugg, now for a discussion of the regulation for alcoholic beverages on public streets and parking lots.
Thank you, Your Honor. John, I believe there's a slide about that shows, thank you very much, that's exactly it. The slide that you see is what's outlined in the middle for the downtown area is the central business planning area, also known as Tier 1 within the zoning ordinance. It comes into play. The basic ordinance in front of you, which is also in the packet, amends section 130.03. And following past guidance and principles from the city council and what the city government has generally done, we tried to take the most direct path to get to where you wanted to be, which is to give an affirmative response to the request to be able to have an outdoor dining experience in the downtown that would allow alcoholic beverage service, whether that be malt beverage, unfortified wine, or mixed drinks. To accomplish that, we use the example that has worked for the city in other instances. 130.03 puts in place the prohibitions. Says you can't possess or consume open containers, streets, alleys, and it specifically includes how you cannot possess open containers even if it's closed for a special event. Following that past practice, there have been exemptions made when the council heard meritorious proposals. McCray Ballpark is an example, the airport at the Aviation Museum, the Sunset Theater, Bicentennial Park when an event is done in accordance with the Cultural and Rec Services Policy Manual. This does the exact same thing and adds a sixth, there were 5. If you adopt the ordinance, that's in front of you, there will now be 6 exemptions. And that exemption is straightforward. It says, as an exemption, the possession and consumption of alcoholic beverages within a designated outdoor dining location on a public street, sidewalk, alley, or parking lot temporarily closed to regular traffic for a special event within the city zoning ordinance's central business planning area Tier 1. And then it goes on to say the exception for outdoor dining within the central business planning area is applicable so long as and only so long as the following conditions are satisfied. The good news is I'm not going to go through and read it word for word. The summary of that, in which I'll be happy to answer any questions and we can go through it word for word. But the exceptions that are, the qualifiers that are put on the exception is that service has to happen within the designated outdoor dining areas. So there's not just walking up and down the street with an open container, but there is completely unfettered service within those designated outdoor dining areas. The other exceptions say that the service that's occurring within that outdoor dining area has to be strictly compliant with all applicable ABC laws, specifically including the permits that the individual businesses will hold. The second thing is it also says there has to be compliance with any applicable state regulations that pertain to health and safety, and it specifically lists gubernatorial, executive orders, Department of Health and Human Services orders, anything that the Randolph County Health Department enforces when it comes to food preparation. Now, the other part that this gets into is it's a requirement for the council, and this is striking a balance, and we can always change it any way that the council would like to. It tries to strike the balance of the city council always has to say on closing the public street, alley, sidewalk, parking lot. That has to come to you. But in order to build in the flexibility, and on this, I recognize it's different, but there's some similarities, to build in the flexibility that has worked well for the city with things like the Arts Guild and the Fall Festival, the council does not, under this proposal, does not get into all the logistical details. That is handled by saying there also has to be a packet submitted to the city manager, and that packet with a map is to lay out where these outdoor dining areas are. It's also to show that there's been due risk management considerations taking place, and that the map shows that there have been efforts to comply with the accessibility requirements that you find in the Americans with Disabilities Act. Also requires that you show you've got a layout that the city manager signs off on, that emergency responders actually have travel lanes within that special event area so they can get to and from any place they need to respond to a problem. It also says you've got to get any other requirements and that any other approvals that are required. And I'll use that as an example. I try not to outthink myself on it, but I got concerned that there could be confusion, and Jonathan Sermon, our Recreation Services Director, brought up an excellent question. Well, where's the interplay, or what happens if you're doing something on, let's say, and it's not part of this request that you heard, but let's say you got something going on at the Rotary Pavilion. Which exception applies? The answer by saying you get both approvals is both. You go through, and for the part that's applicable to outdoor dining, that's handled with the application to the city manager. If for some reason there's something going on, that's not in this case, but if it did, and you needed to get Cultural and Rec Services to sign off because of using the stage, you go through their process, and that's covered by a separate exception. Just comply with it, and the two can work hand in hand. Always an important thing with an ordinance is what's the effective date. If you act positively on this, effective date's tomorrow. So therefore, it's fully in effect for the 7th. And there is no timeline as far as advance notice required to the city manager. As long as the city manager is comfortable and the departments that he supervises, police and fire, public works, as long as they're all comfortable that they can handle logistics, he can sign off. With all that said, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Oh, I will add, the only ones who can apply the way this exception is laid out is a nonprofit corporation, and as you can tell, the only place that applies at this point is within that Tier 1 area, which is the downtown area. And as far as down the road, it's like every other ordinance provision. Once you see what happens, if you decide you want to expand it or contract it, you can always amend it. It's here dealing with the specific request that was made. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Mayor, before you, I may add to what Mr. Sugg, Mr. Sermon and I worked on. We used this, the Central City Planning Area map as a base map. We talked, Rebecca has talked about just, the 2 blocks of Sunset Avenue, but we used that as a base map, so we tied the city code to the zoning ordinance, so it all ties together, just for the record, Mayor.
I don't want to unnecessarily burden it in terms of the ordinance, because I'm certainly in favor of what we have here. With the exception of, since we're going to be on the street and sidewalks, is there a way to do this either by way of ordinance or by way of the application for the, in the process of expanding it through whoever does the applications, of making the things in plastic containers because it's going to be on the sidewalk and on the street? I mean, like I say, I don't know if it's something that we need to address in the ordinance or under the application process, but I think it's, and like I say, I don't want to unnecessarily burden it, but I think it might behoove us to say we're not going to bring bottles out on the street or glassware. So.
And it's a great question. Right now, the policy approach that the ordinance reflects is we believe we can get at it by the city manager signing off on the plan that shows how they're doing
Yeah.
their preparations.
So it'd be more of a plan issue than an ordinance issue.
Than an ordinance.
That's my point.
Yes.
Okay, I just, yeah.
And to use the classic example, if the city manager gets a lot of pushback or doesn't get cooperation and it becomes more difficult, you can use the ordinance to bring it in more explicitly if there's a policy concern. I'm not saying that in drafting it, I made the right choice, but that was the choice that was floating around, was to do that at this point.
Well, I mean, it's a minute detail that came up after we had met last time, and that's why I'm
Right.
bringing it up tonight and not before, so, sorry.
Hold on, one more thing, Mayor. Rebecca McGee and Al Pratt, who's the president of the downtown Asheboro Inc., they brought documents here. Remember those documents last month? That's more for their use. So Rebecca will, if approved, she'll get which restaurants want to participate.
She'll have an application.
She'll have an application. Then she insures DAI Inc., and then insures the city. And they agree to do all that. That becomes part of the plan that she brings to the city manager. So you've already agreed to close the street next week, Saturday, and we've agreed to have dining out there on Saturday. So this is the third piece of the three-leg of the.
We're not gonna be Thursday.
And I left a premise unstated. One of the premises that I said, and this could be a very wrong premise to act on, but the premise that I act on a lot of times in drafting, not just this ordinance, but any ordinance, and it can certainly be corrected and things can be weighted the other direction quite appropriately. As you have, I think Councilmember Moffitt has talked about, I'm a very conservative person by nature. I don't mean that in the political sense.
No.
You tend to have more flexibility if you happen to deviate, and knowing my own frailties, humans sometimes deviate from policies and things you expect to happen. If you deviate from something that is ordinance, that's specified in the ordinance, you've just broken the law. If you deviate from something that's a guideline and an operational plan, you shouldn't have done it, but we can try fixing it and we don't have to worry about is there been a violation occurred. We're just going to fix it logistically. So that's the premise that drives it. It can be a very good thing to add more specificity to it, and we certainly can do it. But I just was make it clear that I like owning up to when something's driving me on the way I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
Any other questions, discussion? Linda, you have any questions?
I have a comment.
Go right ahead.
My concern was the same as it was last time. As each time we come back to this, we, continue to add on and continue to change things, and we continue to add, now we've got alcohol and fruit. I think it's something that we really need to be, making sure that we're doing the right thing when it happens that Saturday. You know, if we've got children up there, it's hard to keep them in their seats if even if they're eating, especially if they're outside. So I think it's, we just need to be very aware of what's going on.
Well, thank you. And I agree, we need to proceed with caution as we develop these events.
I did want to say thank you to Jim for working on this.
Yep.
And Rachel on it.
Thank you, ma'am.
And as one who catches grief or praise, depending on how I vote on these types of issues, I also thank you, Jeff, for your hard work on this. And also as one who just came off 14 days of COVID quarantine, I can appreciate these businesses. I've done my best since March to keep all our restaurants open downtown because I've eaten at all of them on a regular basis. And my pants are testimony to that today. But I do believe that we have good, responsible business people downtown. I see this as an opportunity for us to help to give back to these restaurants downtown. We're not asking them to do anything that they're not already licensed to do. We are just expanding their opportunity to go from 50% capacity to their 100% capacity that they can have, and it goes out into the street. Yeah, I'm concerned about
glass on the street, and I'm sure that's something we'll take care of. And I know any of these restaurants I've been in, there've been children already in there. So they're not going to see something that they haven't seen before. I think we'll have good control with this, and I appreciate the effort that the downtown group has done to make this happen. That's my basis is seeing this as just expanding the footprint of a business that's legally licensed to do what they're already doing.
And Mayor, follow on just, while we're in that discussion period, operationally, the city would be responsible for closing the street, obviously, and maintaining public safety with police and fire. And then it will clean up afterwards. We're getting ready to hear the next on the agenda about Christmas on Sunset and the Christmas parade. And every year, you guys mention that we have Fall Festival and the Christmas parade, and the next day it's like it didn't exist. Well, it wasn't always that way. We've got cleanup down to a perfection, but we've had 40 chances to practice it. So we'll practice this if you approve it this time, and we'll make improvements as we go along. So that's something that Jeff's built in with the flexibility to come to the city manager. I would not put on the agenda to close the street for these type of events until we had all the documentation to give you the whole reason for closing the street either. So there's some couple of checkpoints along the way. It's just not carte blanche to do whatever you want to. And the square footage is directly tied, as Mr. Burks mentioned, you're extending your square footage. That's set by the emergency ordinance, and the state allowed us to do this, so you don't have a street festival out there. So quote, you don't have a street festival. It's just 2 or 3 restaurants expanding into the public right of way. If this was a much larger jurisdiction, we may have sidewalks big enough to do it anyway, but we don't here. That's the other piece. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
So when I see this, it's really tied to the COVID, because of the businesses being shut down for so long, and then only a certain percentage can come in, and that's what this is for, is to help those businesses who were affected so by the COVID.
Yes, ma'am. That's why we specifically spelled out one of the reasons to grant this exemption is the public health crisis and the governor and the Secretary of Health's orders.
Well,
That's a good comment, though. Thank you.
and we all understand that most of these restaurants cannot survive on 50% occupancy, long-term. So.
That's right, Mayor. Just one more for the record. I may steal some of Rebecca's thunder here, but I just remind the council that we're talking about this the city center planning area, and those are all small, local shops. Nothing against McDonald's, but on Dixie Drive with, one of the biggest companies in the world, they really don't need this council's help to make money. Nothing against us, but they know their business. This is for the mom and pops that are downtown.
Well, they have drive-through.
Rebecca, just to make sure I'm thinking correctly, or if I am, the restaurants or the businesses that choose to participate, they will be physically cordoned off an area, is that correct?
That is correct. And currently, we have not only businesses on Sunset Avenue, but in the surrounding areas that have anybody that has outdoor space that is COVID safe, we are including them. Magnolia's has decided to open up on Saturday just for this event. We have all the restaurants on Sunset Avenue as well as Church Street that are participating in this. They do have to clearly mark their area, even if they're not having alcohol. And this really specifically deals with 3 or 4 different businesses that are specifically have to be very, very careful. Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Discussion? All right, council, what's your pleasure here?
Mayor, I move we approve the ordinance providing an exemption to section 130.03 of the city code by reference.
Thank you. We have a motion by Mr. Bell to approve this resolution by reference? Ordinance. I'm sorry. Ordinance. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Redding is the second. Pardon? And third and fourth.
We'll get to that.
Any discussion, further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Carter, I'm sorry.
No.
Okay, we have one dissenting vote, let the record show. And, thank you. So we'll look forward to Streetery Saturday, with the alcohol, and, just remind everybody that this is a first time, and it needs to go well. Because as you heard our attorney, say, we can back it up. Okay, so, thank you, for Downtown Asheboro Incorporated and the running start that you have taken, to improve our downtown. Thank you. Al, appreciate you being here. Do you, anything further on item 3? Well, we'll move on to item 4 then. Mr. Sugg again, the discussion on Hangar Inn lease agreement.
The good news is this requires no action on your part. I just wanted to make sure I informed you that since you adopted a resolution at the previous regular meeting authorizing the advertisement of the transfer of that lease, the parties subsequent to that time have decided they're not in a position to move forward. So there will be no ad published, no recommendation was received because they made that decision about being unable to proceed before the Asheboro Airport Authority considered it. As soon as there are any new developments, we will come back to you for further guidance and authorization.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Any questions of Jeff on that? Okay. Asheboro Randolph Chamber of Commerce President Linda Brown.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here tonight, and I appreciate the seriousness you put into considering the ordinance change and our experience in working with the city on these community-wide events. We have all the necessary departments involved with the planning from the very beginning, and Downtown Asheboro Inc. has been doing the same thing. So when you've got the police department and fire department involved from the beginning with the planning, as well as Dave Hutchins and his crew and Jimmy Cagle and his crew, Jonathan Sermon, all these eyeballs are looking at it on behalf of the city to make sure they're thinking about things like plastic cups, and it's really great. It's a great partnership, and we're happy to have Downtown Asheboro Inc. kind of join the party. I'm here tonight to tell you about our Christmas plans. The first one is a new event, Light Up Asheboro. We're very excited about this, and we're excited to partner with the city on it. This has been a challenging year for so many people, and so we are asking the people of Asheboro to shine their light, share their light with their family, their friends, their customers, their neighbors. We're asking businesses throughout the community. We're asking homeowners, nonprofits like churches. We want people to put lights on their houses, their buildings, their storefronts. We just want to make it a bright end of the year. And we're going to have prizes. We'll have a commercial category. We'll have first, second, and third place in all these different categories, but we'll have commercial, we'll have residential, we'll have a nonprofit organization, storefront window for places like on Sunset that they may not own their building, but they can decorate up their window. And we'll have prizes of $500, $300, and $100 for the winners. We have a website that's just about ready to go live where people will be able to register, and it's free registration to do this and participate in this. We hope to have a map on there that we can drop pins for everybody who registers So families can look it up online and see where to drive to go look at lights, and we think that'd be a nice resource to have. And then we asked our tiered sponsors for this year. Our chamber members that sponsor us throughout the year for different events. We've had a couple events we've not been able to hold this year, and we asked if they continued with their commitment on this. We wanted to have a light up project. So this year's light up project, we're having LED lighting, like what's on our building, installed on the covered stage in Bicentennial Park. And in talking with John and the city, the cost to light it every evening throughout the year is minimal. With the LED lighting, you don't really notice a difference in your power bill. But we think it'll really add to the atmosphere and the safety in the park. With all the events that take place there throughout the year, you know, every weekend there's something going on, and we think it'll be a great addition. Already I've had some businesses downtown talk about next year's light up project that we can focus on, maybe have something across North Street for people heading down toward the rec center. That's a possibility. Tension lines between the two buildings. So we'll see. But we're very excited about this event. It'll go from December 1st to December 31st, and we'll be announcing the winners. I forget what the timeline is, but it'll be about the second or third week of December that people will announce the winners, and they'll get their prize money. So this is one of the events. The other thing I wanted to let you know is the parade this year. We have decided to hold a reverse parade, and we have been sending out emails to all of the people that participate in the parade each year that typically have a float. And we would love to get as many as 30 floats, and park them alternately on both sides of the street from about Academy on Church to Sunset, and then down Sunset to Bicentennial Park. And then we've already requested the streets be closed so that cars could drive one way down the middle of the street and view the floats that are parked on both sides. So it's, instead of you standing on the sidewalk and the parade going past you, they're gonna sit still and you'll drive past it. The city has a lot of candy left over from Halloween. Jonathan said that his team can dress up like an elf. I don't know that he will dress up as an elf, but I would pay good money. And we'll have Santa Claus there. So it'll be a lot of fun. And the lights for the stage will be installed on Monday, next Monday. So they'll be on and they'll be up. And the city always has great displays in Bicentennial Park, lighted displays. So we think that'll be a lot of fun. Now, we put out the first email over a week ago, and we had no response from any of the past parade participants. A lot of the floats and entries are school groups, church groups, and a lot of them have not been meeting like they normally do, and they've not been able to work on things like this. And most parades have been canceled, and usually when they take on a project like that, they enter it in several parades. So I think as of this morning, we'd had 4 or 5 sign up. So we're gonna get the group back together on November 18th and make a decision whether it's a go or a no-go. Christmas on Sunset would have been held the following Friday on the 11th. We're not gonna be able to do that. So we decided, Dave Hutchins requested that the street in that pattern I mentioned for the reverse parade be closed the nights of Friday the 4th and Friday the 11th, so we can have a rain date. If we have inclement weather and we can't do the parade on the 4th, we'll release the street so it can stay open, and we'll hold it the following Friday. And everybody that we have contacted about participating in the parade knows that there's a potential rain date of the following week. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to do what we can to keep it festive and positive and give people something to look forward to. And We think Light Up Asheboro is going to be a great new addition to December around here. And I'm looking forward to being able to send you the link so you can look at the website once it's up. Do you have any questions?
Question?
So there will be a COVID version of Christmas on Sunset in conjunction with the parade at all, or?
No.
Okay.
We've contacted all the schools. You know, they're not allowing the students to, you know, bands, for example. You can't have tubas and trumpets blowing air all over. You know, they've not been able to do what they need to do to be able to practice. And same with choral groups. So we've just not been able to get the participation.
Sure.
We even asked if they could record some holiday music, because we've talked with WKXR and WZOO, and the parade will run from 7 to 9 p.m. on Friday the 4th, and we thought it would be great if they would play a 2-hour block of local holiday music. And so they're all prepared to do that, but none of the schools are able to do it because they've not been able to practice and do that, so. But they'll do holiday music for us. So you can turn your radio on, listen to holiday music, and drive through the parade.
I'm assuming that, John, this question's for you. I'm assuming the city expects to do their traditional Christmas lighting.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor, and we have in contact, of course, you know, Church Street is not our street, NCDOT Street. We have contacted DOT about closing that street on both those nights. They have agreed to it. And with Linda's presentation, we'd just request that you agree tonight to close Sunset from 4 to 7 on Friday the 4th, and from, well, it's 3 to 9. And then 3 to 9 on Friday the 11th of December.
One-way traffic.
For one-way traffic. So we can set the
All right.
reverse parade up if we get to have
The
it.
question was actually a little further than that. In lieu of Christmas on Sunset, you know, if we decorate the park as we have for the carriage rides, you may have already said this. Did you say anything about this? Okay. We could certainly invite everybody, you know, publicize the park as decorated, Santa's out there, the snowflakes, the light balls and all that, and invite people to at least ride through downtown.
Well, the city can enter Light Up Asheboro. You might win $500 to go towards your holiday.
You know, we've in the last 2 or 3 years, we've done a lot. We've purchased a lot of additional Christmas decorations. The big tree over at that we put up over at North Street at the rec center, the big waving Santa Claus, and all the different things, the farmer's market and everything. So we just need to let people know that they can certainly ride downtown, and if we have music on the radio, Christmas holiday on ZOO and KXR, that they could at least get some semblance of Christmas holiday spirit by riding through and looking at the Christmas decoration.
That's right. We also planned, since we can't do Christmas on Sunset, on that night, we usually have people in costume kind of strolling around. We plan to have them, and as I mentioned, we'll have the city elves and the holiday candy. They'll also have the books that Partnership for Children usually hands out during the parade. So the city staff will be able to hand those out as well. So we're going to basically kind of combine the two events into one for this year, and we will be encouraging people to continue to come downtown throughout the month, not only to look at lights, but just to shop local. You know, put down the mouse, get out of the house, and do your shopping here in town.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate your hard work on this.
Thank you.
So Mayor, based on the presentation tonight, we would, this presentation requires no action of the council, but we do need you permission to close Sunset Avenue from,
Oh, I was gonna wait till you finish answering that question.
on Friday the 4th and Friday the December 11th from 3 to 8.
Just in coordination with Christmas on Sunset, assuming that it's not used as the rain date or inclement weather date for the drive-through parade, and if we're gonna close the street, or to at least one-way traffic, could we then have outdoor dining on Christmas on Sunset night, just in anticipation of getting more people downtown for, well, now Rebecca's gone, but, I mean, if the street is gonna be closed anyway,
I think she's bringing,
could we coordinate that as under the ordinance that we just passed?
I think she's bringing a plan tomorrow for Saturday, and then we can discuss it tomorrow,
Okay.
under the ordinance,
But technically, the street's not closed, it's just closed to one-way traffic.
close to one-way traffic.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I will add, if you wanted to build that option in, you would have to go ahead and close. The ordinance does require the city council to close the street because it does not envision allowing one-way traffic while you've got outdoor dining going
Well,
on.
saying since the second date is a rain date,
Right. And if they limit it
can
to,
we
the s-
provisionally, can we close it and then provisionally open it up if for some reason the fourth is
I
not
think,
made?
it may be, it may be best, and I'll, Captain Cheeks back there somewhere. At this point,
Historically, we have closed it for Christmas on Sunset. I mean,
yes,
I'm not
and
trying to
at this
put a monkey
point,
wrench in, I'm just,
at this point, we're not, the feelers have gone out to get the floats, have just gone out. So we don't know the level of activity yet for this event. So we may be ahead of the game a little bit. If we've got 30 floats and that gets to the point we can, if we have to, we can have a special call meeting. I think the 4th is before we meet.
I was gonna say, if you're looking at that second date on the 11th,
we would meet before then.
We would
would
meet
meet
before.
before
then.
then.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
the second date is very doable as
Yes.
far as the council taking the required action.
Okay.
And just before we pass on, Mayor, this is my 20th or 21st Christmas, and we haven't missed the parade yet, but we've had all kind of weather, but we've not had a pandemic, so,
Well, there's a whole lot of first in this year.
yep. Yep,
And I'll be glad to see January 1st come for 2021.
yep. Well, thank you, Mayor. So with your permission, those streets are closed.
All right,
We do need a motion, Mayor. Let's get Mr. Moffitt,
And
is
if
that a
you don't-
motion?
And if,
have a resolution?
and if you don't, just a vote for the closure will be fine for one way, but the one thing I wanted to ask is, we had a little back and forth on the times. I see on the handout it says 7 to 9, so do you want to go with 3 to 9 for the authorization? All right,
Okay.
thank you.
May I have a motion to close the streets mentioned by John to one-way traffic on those two dates from 3 to 9? May I have a motion?
So moved.
And Mr. Burks makes a motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Swears is the second. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ms. Carter? All opposed? Unanimous approval. Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Kemp, Human Resource Director for the City of Asheboro, you've got some safety awards to recognize.
We do. Thanks for having me here. I'm here in place of our safety director, or safety manager, Steve Pay. His wife had some surgery yesterday, so he couldn't make it. The city's safety manager, Mr. Pay, and all the department heads, they work hard to keep a safe working environment for all the city employees every day. And as y'all know, many of our jobs are very dangerous. There's lots of ways to get hurt working for the city. This year we had 7 departments that were recognized by the North Carolina Department of Labor for their efforts by receiving silver and gold awards. It's a testament to the hard work of all the employees as well as the safety manager and the department heads. The silver award is basically days out, days off of work due to injury being at least 50% below the industry average. We had 3 departments win that award this year. The street maintenance department won it for the first time. Environmental services won it for the second time. And then fleet maintenance won it for the third time. Then as far as the gold award, which is days out or restricted duty, which is light duty, equaling 50% below the industry average, we had first year winners, Public Works and the wastewater treatment plant. Fourth year winning, the water treatment plant, and then for the 26th consecutive year, the administrative City Hall won the award. So safety is a very high priority for the city. We put a lot of time, effort, and money into it, and it's good to see some recognition from the state for the hard work that's put in by everyone.
That's to be congratulated. We keep up with the same information at our place, and which has many similar tasks. And then anything under the public works and the treatment plants, not taking anything away from administrative, but there's fewer things falling on them.
That's right.
But it's it takes a lot of awareness and a lot of just conscious effort on everybody from top to bottom to be able to do this. It does not happen by accident.
No, it doesn't.
Unintended. It does not.
It's a lot of hard work, and we have a guy in place who's, I hate to say, is probably nearing retirement age that we're going to miss greatly whenever that day comes. So any chance y'all get to pat him on the back, please do it.
Steve does a wonderful job.
He does. He lives it.
And we appreciate your work.
Well, thank you. Enjoy it.
We have great employees, City of Asheboro, top to bottom.
Really do.
And, always accommodating and courteous, and seem to really care about their service to the citizens.
It's a great group of people. I've been really impressed in my time here. So
Didn't know how good it could be, did you?
didn't have a clue. Found out though.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
They didn't have the luncheon this year because of COVID.
That's right. We couldn't put 300 people in the room together.
Well, and the difficulty there is, if and when they get back to having the luncheons, Cherie Berry's not gonna be there.
No.
She's been a real,
She was the best part of it.
yeah, she's always a great treat.
That's right.
Have her in Asheboro celebrating with all the safety award winners.
Exactly.
So, thank you.
All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna deviate a little bit from the agenda here, and I'm gonna call on Manager Ogburn to recognize our finance officer.
Mayor, on behalf of, let me say it's deep honor on behalf of the Government Finance Officers Association to present Debbie Reeves a certificate of excellence financial reporting for the 19th year she's been here. This is 19 in a row. We quit getting individual plaques. I just want to read into the record, Mayor. This is really important, and we go about this. I just remind the public that it's their money we spend. We're not a private business. We don't have investors. We have citizens, and we work for them. And this certificate of achievement is the highest form of recognition, in governmental accounting and financial reporting. And its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by a government and its management. So we all have a little piece to play in it, but Debbie plays the biggest. She's our cleanup hitter, if you will. So I might ask Debbie to come up. And on behalf of all of us, Debbie, we thank you and congratulate you. You can't turn your paperwork in until I turn mine in. And, great. And we'll be getting the audit in January, I think, February, sometime in that time frame. And we all just want to thank Debbie for all she does for us.
Ms. Reeves, you do a wonderful job, and I want to thank you personally for your help with my issue last week for one of the citizens that had contacted me, and I hope we got that resolved, and You worked hard to do that. I appreciate it. And I have to say this, it seems like it has not been but just 2 or 3 months since we presented you this last year. But I guess time flies. It doesn't seem like it's been a year. But it seems very routine now because you're here every single year for 17 years now, earning this.
No, no,
No. But it's just routine that we know you're gonna win this award every single year, recognized for your excellence. Thank you.
I don't know how you live with the pressure. So many years in a row.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. You got anything, John?
No, Mayor, I was just gonna mention, I don't
I think we're records like this.
here, but I think you should just open the comment period, Mayor, for the
Yeah, let me,
record.
Is there anyone in the building that would like to address the council on any matters of city business or concern? Slim agenda tonight, and
Ray could do his own.
very few citizens here.
Cover himself.
Obviously, no one is here to speak to the council during the public comment period, so we will close the public comment period, and I will move to item 9, which is approval of the consent agenda. Council, you have in front of you your consent agenda. Is there any item on the consent agenda that you would like to review for individual discussion? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as it was presented.
Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Have a motion by Mr. Burks to approve the consent agenda. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Bell as second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ms. Carter? Thank you. Consent agenda is approved. Okay, item 10, City Engineer Michael Leonard. You are going to talk to us about a requested rezoning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not rezoning, it'll be a annexation.
I'm sorry, a contiguous annexation.
Yes, sir. This is concerning property at 930 Sherwood Avenue. It is a contiguous on all 4 sides. It is one of the donut holes we've been trying to close in for years. This portion of the property is owned by, property is owned by Omar Zamudio. And I apologize if I got that wrong. But you have in your packets a resolution prepared by the city attorney that directs the city clerk to take the required actions, and staff recommends adoption of this resolution by reference.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve this annexation investigation, directing the city clerk to investigate the annexation petition by reference?
Mayor, I move we approve the resolution by reference.
I have a motion by Mr. Bell. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Redding. Sorry. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ms. Carter? All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In anticipation of your action, the city clerk has prepared a certification of sufficiency for the petition, or of the petition. In light of certification, you have in front of you a resolution prepared by the city attorney setting the public hearing date for the December 10th, 2020 city council meeting on the question of the requested annexation. Staff recommends adoption of this resolution by reference.
Sure. May I have a motion to approve setting the date for the public hearing by reference? The resolution by reference.
Mayor, I move we approve the resolution setting the public hearing by reference.
Okay, have a motion by Mr. Bell. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Swears. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ms. Carter? Thank you. Motion carries. This public hearing will be on December the 10th at the next scheduled meeting.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Ogburn.
Yes, Mayor, I'll be, the staff mayor has been working some placemaking, working on some placemaking projects and initiatives. But I want to back up in a minute, talk about placemaking. You know, in the private sector, you may call it branding or marketing or brand ID. For example, the Energizer Bunny. You just show that picture, everybody knows what that is, right? Or,
Golden Arches.
I was thinking more, Tony. Everybody knows Tony the Tiger. Even Shaquille O'Neal knows Tony the Tiger, right? So placemaking is kind of the public form of that. Placemaking is a multifaceted approach to the planning, design, and management of public spaces. It capitalizes on a local community's assets, inspiration, and potential with the intention of creating public spaces that promote health, happiness, and well-being. It is political due to the nature of place identity. So we're identifying or placemaking ourselves. Just like your home. If you come in our home, you'll see collectibles and stuff our families passed down and our kids on the wall and all that. You have the same thing. Think of us, the city, in that way. And then think of that as place-based economic development. Now, we just talked about that with the Downtown Asheboro Inc. initiative for the streetery and things like that. And it's an economic development strategy also called place-based economics, and it's the practice of using communities' public amenities to make economic progress. Now, what do you think our biggest public amenity is? Pretty easy, right? The North Carolina Zoo. So, I hope all of you saw last weekend or DVR'd it, the behind the scenes on Nat Geo about the North Carolina Zoo. If you have not, please catch it. It is fascinating how they take care of those animals. Of course, Mayor Pro Tem Moffitt is the chair of the North Carolina Zoo Society. So we've been talking about how to capture that in our public spaces. So, how do we capture that? Especially since the bypass now and the Southern Loop's going to be opened. Mr. Moffitt and I were talking this week, sometime about Christmas, plus or minus. That's what it looks like now. So we have welcome signage, southbound, eastbound, and westbound, right? Some. Now, if you've been out there lately, you notice these signs aren't there. They're not there because they're worn out, faded, rotten. But how great would it be if our signs looked something like this? So what if we took that signage or that type of signage and tied ourselves in with the North Carolina Zoo? Now, we've discussed this with the zoo, so we're not kibitzing on them. We've had these discussions, and we've had discussions with the NCDOT. That would be pretty striking, wouldn't it? Mm-hmm. That said, welcome to Asheboro, home of the North Carolina Zoo. How about this? So assume you're leaving West Virginia, Ohio, Michigan, Western Pennsylvania, and you're coming down I-73, 74. So what's the first place, our intersection we hit? So that you could have that kind of signage at Pineview Street. That's our first one, right? Now, you couldn't have that signage in the right-of-way, we don't think, because DOT doesn't allow signage in the right-of-way, and that's an interstate, so that's a standard signage. It's pretty much the same signage in everywhere, all along I've ridden every mile of I-40. I know Eddie has, I know Walker has the same signage everywhere you go. But suppose in the interchange at Spiro Road, instead of the trees and grown up out there, and there's the interchange. Suppose you had a herd of gorillas or a troop of gorillas, statues, like at the entrance to the zoo. And come further down on Vision Drive, you had a herd of bison statuary, like at the zoo. And you come on down to Presnell Street, and you had a herd of elk lit up at night or using the lights out there. Come on down to Salisbury Street. Now that's a little narrow piece right there, right? Suppose you had a black bear or a black bear climbing a tree. Come on down to Dixie Drive, that's the great big intersection. Anybody looked at it lately, it's pretty overgrown. It's actually a lot overgrown. You'd have something like that, and what if you had a herd of giraffe or a herd of elephants in there? I guess elephants be appropriate for Randolph County, right? Okay, but wouldn't that be, now, if you were driving, you would remember that, wouldn't you? And we have to think about placemaking like the Florida Space Coast, right? Cape Canaveral and all that area. And even though the moonwalk, Apollo was 50 years ago, people still go to see it, don't they? Yeah. And they're still capitalizing on the Space Coast. And if you go to Daytona, they're not, or Indianapolis, they're not shy talking about the Speedway.
Even the LPGA is a great old big thing
Yeah.
before you get to that.
So that's what we want. That's what we're talking about, placemaking. And we got a real opportunity here to tie ourselves to the zoo. And if you think about they're buying the third continent, building the third continent, and we're going to get 1 million visitors a day, we want to capture those people and spend the night and get them to, the zoo is our goal to be an overnight attraction, right? So that's what we're trying to work through. Now, if we could have, then we're building the Zoo City Sportsplex. If we could do our signage out there in the same type deal, same zoo motif, animals. Now, not cartoonish animals.
Yeah.
The zoo doesn't want Tony the Tiger out there.
Yeah.
Right, they want.
Is he available?
Would he sponsor?
How much more it wants to spend
Yeah.
on
Now,
the park.
now this would be, now we've asked DOT and they've approved the roundabout. Remember we talked about that about 4 or 5 months ago? There's the plan. And how cool would that be if that was in the middle? Now, we know the zoo's there. It's not for us. We know the zoo's there. We've all been. We all support it. We've all given to it. But think about if you're from Michigan or West Virginia or California, right? So that could be really impressive. So this spring and summer, and you've seen this, but we're going to start, our sidewalks are going to put back with footprints in them, right? They got footprints going into Clemson. Crosswalks, right? They got blue fire trucks in Chapel Hill, not red ones.
Somehow that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know how you see them, but they have them, right?
Yeah.
They got green fire hydrants in Greensboro. All you know, you go all over Chicago, they got bulls for the state slaughterhouses and the Chicago bulls.
So we could decorate our snorkel truck.
Yeah. Then we have gorilla line. Now the zoos approve these footprint patterns, so we've been working with their marketing people on these ideas. Polar bear, rhinoceros. We already have the polar bear downtown, of course. So we would. So we think that's exciting. We would think that would draw us apart, draw you on the freeway when coming down. We would need to extend our signage further out east and west. So in the loop, we can be out close to there. We still want people to come to Dixie Drive for business, right? So that's kind of our plan on that. Now, the other thing we have to talk about is what else do we have here? We have our history and culture. I'll be like I said, it'd be foolish. I mean, our friends next door around them, and they don't have any problem capturing Richard Petty. Right? And what is it? Winterset, Iowa still has John Wayne all over there. And the town in Illinois still has President Reagan stuff where he was from. So we have the David and Pauline Gerald we're working on, the Center City Garden, obviously. So with our placemaking and our Center City Garden, we need to hire a landscape architect to help us fully gather these ideas and think about them, how to best do them. This is our engineering renderings of what, we can do that. That's our engineering. Well, we're not artists, we're not landscape architects. Artists do this.
Those are expensive.
Right. Yeah, we're not saying that's the answer,
Yeah.
but I mean, those are life size.
Yes, that cast bronze.
Right, we're not, so our point is though, we would like to come back in December or January. It may take a while. We may have to wind up sending out an RFQ, request for qualifications, for some landscape architects or to help us with these projects. The mayor and I worked out for NC State, the mayor said last, council meeting to come with the Center City Garden, and the COVID hit, and who knows. I don't even think, well, the undergraduate students are online. Landscape architecture grad students, it's a very small department, and they're probably, if they're in class, they're probably doing it right there in Raleigh. So we'll just have to hire somebody to, we'll just tell you, that's what we're working on. We'd like to come back to you. We can generate some renderings and then see what we can look like. But we just think that would really be striking at coming down from north to south, and then maybe some east to west or some new signage. Now, we purposely on there don't have south to north. Where the loop's coming in, that's going to be flagged down there, and you've already seen the little elephants on the bridge. Everybody seen that?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of things that's for us to, so we'd like to tie into that and see how that goes. So that's all we have on placemaking, Mayor. If that meets the council likes that, we'll just keep working on it.
Please do.
I've always liked that idea, and it's an idea that I've had in my head ever since that mule deer got out in front of the bank.
Absolutely.
That's the quality that I like. And we used to have the rhino that was out in front of the old courthouse that was laying down there. I just always thought that was really cool. And even on a smaller scale, I thought when I was driving through town when they were recently painting the light poles, I was thinking, how cool will it be to have a chimpanzee or a koala bear hanging on one of those poles? And then you can get kids going down, doing a safari in Asheboro. Can you find all the animals in Asheboro? I just think that's a great idea.
Exactly. That's exactly, and your placemaking wants to excite, ignite, illuminate that energy.
I tell you, I spend a lot of time at various holidays, Myrtle Beach is used as an example, in the RV parks. You talking to everybody and this, that, and the other, and 90% of who you talk to, if they come from north, they've come through Asheboro. Absolutely. Especially Ohio and all those regions. And it's always saddened me, and I'm gonna characterize these comments that y'all please understand. I love Pedro and south of the border. I don't know that that's what we need here, but the pendulum, that's one way, and what we have is always the other way. They come through Asheboro and don't even know the zoo's here. We've gone out of our way to keep it a secret, and for 3 or 4 decades. Now, I still think we need taller identifiers and billboards on the interstate, but that's another conversation for another day. This is high time for it to do it. It's obviously being proposed, what you're doing is very classy, whether you do it with some of the plants and all that. I mean, shrubbery, you're going into this. How do they get them shrubs to grow like Mickey Mouse? I don't know, but expensively, I would imagine. but they do it, and they do it in a tasteful manner.
That's correct. And they do it with, so we don't intend,
It could be.
Michael and his team in engineering and myself, we don't claim to be designers and landscape architects. So, the best person.
Got this space.
When we got this space, we think for a small investment of money, we can get some renderings, build energy and excitement about it, and do some really neat stuff down there. And maybe this is not the answer, but that's why.
How many people do you know that's had to stop at least once at that trap down there at Pedro's and wander through with the kids just to satisfy what is in fact here?
Chili today, hot tamale.
And I just, what really got us started about this
and all
was.
it is just it's just marketing and advertising. They created it.
Yeah, and we're talking, and we all reminisced in engineering about going down NC 49 in the old days in the Buffalo Ranch,
Oh, yeah.
right? So we all remember the Buffalo Ranch, it's long, long gone. I'm sure of us, our parents all took us there once just to see what it was.
The little goat track. to
Yeah,
walk up
right.
and, You know,
They had the stagecoach.
but we've got to let people, everybody I talk to down there should know exactly, they came by all that and know exactly what was in Asheboro. And we have failed miserably, but that don't mean we have to continue to.
That's correct. So that's what we're responding to and taking advantage of what's here. So if
We're
that's,
maintaining the interchanges on the interstate now. I mean, have been for years and years, and the DOT is not going to be replanting flowers like they, used to plant these big swaths of flowers and all. They have cut out that program, right? They funded that, and,
They barely had the money to put out snow reflectors.
so,
You can't count on them for nothing.
so our,
so this is,
Our-
all these are our interchanges.
our interchanges are starting to look kind of worn and shop worn and kind of embarrassing, and we mow them, but, so putting these different, zoo animal silhouette type, things out in those areas will be noticeable.
It'll pay for itself.
Even at 70 miles an hour, they will be noticeable. So, be a good thing to
Won't them
enhance
kids
those
screaming,
interchanges.
we gotta stop and see these.
Exactly.
People know that they're at in the home of the largest natural habitat zoo in the world. All right, what changes do we need to make for,
Mayor, in your packet, we just propose two changes. There is, in your packet, you'll see that the 4th of July is on a Sunday. City Hall will be closed on Monday, the 5th. Just however, do you want to meet the week before or come back? What would be, what, Jeff, on the calendar, the Thursday, the 15th?
Thursday, the 15th is what we've got listed as an alternate date.
If that works for everybody, and then as,
there's no real downside to putting it off that long? in
no, not,
July, I
that's,
guess.
yeah, and Mayor, when we're adopting it, and the other one, Mayor, let's get into the record, is the Labor Day one, which will move to the
16th.
to the 16th. Now, if the council's okay with this, then the city attorney will draft the ordinance, which will be on your consent agenda next month. Then we'll publish that, the schedule for for calendar year 21, and then the Planning Board and Redevelopment Commission, the Airport Authority, all those will fall right in to meet so it can get to the council on that same schedule.
May I have a motion to adopt the two schedule changes recommended by staff?
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Moffett. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Burks. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
All right, Mayor, so the city,
Carter? Thank you.
all right, Mayor, so that'll be on your consent agenda. The city manager, the city attorney will take that as your guidance to place a written formal ordinance on the consent agenda for December, our December the 10th meeting.
So you didn't need that motion anyway, did you?
Well, it takes two times, Mayor, to,
It works.
it takes two times to pass an ordinance without a supermajority, so that's number one.
Okay. Items on the upcoming schedule.
Okay, Mayor, I got it, don't I, John? I got it, don't I? All right, Mayor, just a couple of things. Some of you came uptown for the trick or treat in the park. We passed out, Jonathan Sermon and the Parks and the Culture and Recreation Services team passed out 157,000 pieces of candy. The other 8,000 have been mailed in. They're provisional candies, and we'll be, after a Republican, Independent, and Democrat judge, we'll be opening those. That continues tonight as well. 4,000 children's books from the Randolph, our partners, the Randolph County Partnership for Children, and 3,000 individual-sized boxes of cereals courtesy of Post-Consumer Products. So 256 vehicles came through in 2 hours. We were just closed for about 3 to 6 people. And at the start of it, the line stretched from Kivett all the way down to church. I mean, just all the way down. So it was a lot of fun. People had a good time. people were really glad we had it. They thought it was a nice gesture. They understood we were trying hard, and Jonathan and his team always, they've kind of been, as we put out this, I mentioned, I think it was the council meeting, last council meeting, or the one before, we gave you the update on the recreation, and we're trying to get back open. They've kind of been the odd department out in this, and Jonathan is a fine leader, and he's done a really good job keeping morale up down there, and because they're used to staying, really busy. Mayor, upcoming Saturday at 12 noon at the South Asheboro Middle School is the Field of Honor for Veterans Day. That's at 12 noon, the opening ceremony, and tomorrow, Sunday, November the 8th at 3 o'clock is the closing ceremony. It's a day shorter this year due to COVID, but feel free to come.
And if you want to help set up, we're out there tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock. We're taking down Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock.
Mayor, the city is working with AMVET's Post 905 for a hot dog drive-through lunch on Veterans Day, Wednesday, November 11th in Bicentennial Park. Now, of course, all the banks are closed on Veterans Day, so traffic and parking's not an issue. City offices are closed November the 26th, which is Thanksgiving, Thursday, November 26th, and Friday, November 27th. For Thanksgiving, the garbage routes will run the regular schedule. However, there will be no recycling that week. We will double up on recycling the next week. At your December meeting, we will give you the December and New Year's Day trash and recycling collection. And that's all the staff has, Mayor. There may be other things out there, but that's all we have at this point.
Anybody think of anything else that needs to be highlighted as far as events? Seems like the Pilot Club is still going to do their luminaries.
I'm assuming they are, Mayor, but we have not heard.
Saw that in the paper last week.
Okay, they are. Just for the record, they are, and we encourage people to go to that too.
All right.
Mayor, as part of Veterans Day, I just remind the council that you saw at the beginning of the presentation, we have about 35 veterans in our 350-person workforce. That's 10% of the workforce. The national average is 1%, and a common employer our size, so we're real proud of that. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Ms. Carter, you got anything you'd like to highlight tonight?
Well, I'm excited to see that we are doing this place, what do you call it,
Placemaking.
projects. I think that's gonna be a real asset.
Well, we kind of missed our sign out there at John Deere Place, but it kind of fell apart. So, we're working on new and bigger and better signs. Mr. Swears,
I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Burks.
I know some of you were in prayer for me while I was in COVID quarantine, and my wife was quarantining in Siler City with her mother as COVID hit my house. But thank you for your prayers and your thoughts, and I'm thankful for pizza delivery and the 3 bags of Halloween candy I had at the house while my wife was away. And as I mentioned earlier, my pants are tighter now. So.
Mr. Bell.
Happy Thanksgiving. It's coming around quicker and quicker every year, but,
It does. Ms. Redding.
Thank you to all the veterans and for your service and to what we have in this country. I appreciate your service.
Mr. Moffitt.
I just, again, applaud the efforts to acknowledge the zoo. Thankful for all the effort.
Yeah, last week Channel 8 came down and wanted my reaction and the city's reaction to the Secrets of the Zoo 8-part series premiering that weekend. And she filmed about 3 or 4 minutes of that ended up on the cutting room floor, and I think I had like 3 seconds. And not even the best 3 seconds. So I always wonder how they decide what to put in there. But that was not my most intelligent comment. But, they were down here, Channel 8, interviewed Jen Ireland at the zoo and highlighted that, and then came by to get the reaction, from the city, so,
We were sad that we weren't able to have our world presentation due to the high winds and the drive-in theater to blow away, but we will see. But the episode was great.
Yeah, really good.
all right, staff, thank you. Ray, thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate it. I know it's getting kind of lonely down there. Who's the officer out there?
Yeah, Jay.
Captain, it's good to see you. Appreciate your work. Appreciate your work. I guess we are adjourned.
Short and sweet.
Last episode.
Clark.
Yeah, wow.
Line to pick that-
We'll have a
Yeah,
cameo
line
appearance by yours truly. So, where we get to talk about Asheboro in the zoo.
My regards to Susan.
I will. I'm certainly glad to hear that your family is on the mend.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
I think I say, damn it, I want to.